Steps are back for the final time, and even though the description might say Annabelle is here, she is not. Unfortunately, she was not able to watch the finale in time, and John and I were not going to sit around and wait for her because that would mean dragging out the challenge a little bit longer, which any of you who have been with us from the beginning know that I have grown tired of it. Although I did enjoy tonight's episode quite a bit, and we're going to dive into this finale. CT and Amber B pull out the win. Poor Leroy gets so close to achieving his goal, but ultimately falls short in third place. We all kind of knew that Nani was going to end up being a weakness here with the running portion of the game, but this really did come down to about as close as you could ask for second place, because first place was never in doubt. CT and Amber won every single checkpoint of this final. John, what do we think about CT and Amber getting the win, and what do we think about the way this second half of the final went down?
I think CT is very happy he lucked into having Amber be as a partner. Because I don't know if there was possibly a better partner for him. The fact that she was outpacing him the entire time, she was right there with him. She knew what her weaknesses were, so she didn't get in the way of CT as he solved puzzles. They killed it, plain and simple.
Amber B really did prove to be like phenomenal for this final. I mean, he couldn't have asked for a better person to run this final with, because with how much running was a big portion of this final, it pretty much was the whole thing. There was nobody better than her. Man or woman, didn't matter. There was nobody better than Amber was. And I think that was something that was just missed when people were looking at Amber the whole season. If you think about it, both of her challenge wins were in hall brawls, so nobody really got to see how good she was at endurance. Plus, there wasn't actually a whole lot of endurance going on in this season. A lot of the challenges were very physical, or it was to hold on to somebody and don't let them fall off and all of that. And I think with her being a rookie and the way that this season was shaking up, people weren't looking at her maybe the way that they would look at a rookie normally. And I think it was a big oversight. I mean, Fessy could have run this final with Amber B, and he elected to get rid of her at the last second in order to get Casey, which looks like a really stupid move, because CT did not carry Amber B in any way, shape, or form in this final. She carried her own weight, and I would argue that she probably paced CT for most of this. They had a 5-minute head start in that glacier run in the third part of this episode. Nobody was ever going to catch them. It was never, ever, ever, ever going to happen.
Yeah, and that's just really what it came down to was Fessy can be blamed for Casey's injury because he definitely pushed her too hard, so she wasn't being careful in that run last week. And you have to wonder if Fessy stays with Amber instead. Is he pushing Amber as hard because Amber's probably outpacing him the entire time?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And
does that just mean that
Fessy almost frustrate him?
Yeah, right.
Or does that frustrate Fessy?
Yeah. Maybe that led to why he was pushing so hard still, is as time went on, like he could clearly see that Amber B was doing incredibly well in this final. And maybe that was frustrating him and why he was pushing Casey so hard last week as well.
Yeah. And so let's talk about this, because obviously we'll talk about CT and Amber getting their win, and then the 7-minute montage at the end going through everybody's past and history and everything on the show, which I didn't really need. But let's talk about the beginning of this, which was Fessy and Casey getting booted from this episode, from this final. This was not surprising. We knew this was going to happen. We'll talk about CT and Amber's decision to actually give the food to Cam and Corey, but Fessy didn't do anything. And I love that Corey called him out for it and essentially said, put it right here. He's not going to do it. He's going to say all this stuff, and it's just not true. And it wasn't true. He had his excuse, and it's one of those people, once they have their excuse, they're going to run with it. And nobody's going to be able to tell them that that's not the truth, because it's their excuse. And that's terrible. I feel really bad for Casey, because they probably would have pulled her from the game and they weren't going to win this final. But at the same point, you got to eat the food. And I like that TJ kept saying, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? Are you done? And then they end up timing out. It's really pathetic. And it's all Fessy's fault that they timed out. And I think that's the worst part of it. At least give Casey a chance. And he's going to act like, oh, if she didn't get hurt, we would have won. I don't even think he could eat the food. Prove me wrong, Fessy. Prove me wrong. I don't think you could eat the food. I think you're too scared of it. How's that feel?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it comes down to. Is I think Fessy almost felt like someone who wanted an excuse for failing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Fessy would have been able to handle it if he just lost this final. I think he is so happy that Casey blew out her knee, and that's the reason he lost, so he can just blame it on her completely.
That's going to be the story in season 37 the whole time. I would have won last season if Casey didn't get hurt. I would have won last season if Casey didn't get hurt. I would have. That's all he's going to say. And what's infuriating about a person like that is they really believe their own lies. And that's what's annoying. Enrico Watson said they were the perfect match to run the final. I agree. They were a great match to run the final. I would have thought they were the favorites coming into it. But what I'm saying is he completely 100% gave up on the game, and he 100% gave up on Casey. And Casey was still going through the food and still trying to get it down. And Fessy quit. Fessy sat there like a baby and didn't do anything. And then he comes out and he says, oh, well, we would have won it. Great. That's every sore loser in the history of time does what Fessy's doing right now, and that's make excuses for losing. The reason you lost is in part because of Casey's knee, but from what I'm watching, the reason you all were eliminated is because Fessy wouldn't eat the food and you all timed out. If Fessy eats the food, you don't time out. That's on Fessy. So you know what? We didn't get to see if Casey would have been pulled from the game. We didn't get to see if Casey wouldn't have been able to do it. Fessy is the reason that this team lost from what actually took place in the game.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And part of me even, this might sound a little blasphemous from the way we've been talking, Bill, part of me almost wants to watch the reunion because it's just going to be an hour of people laying into Fessy.
That does seem to be the case, huh? Because the whole season, he's just talking crap about everybody. He gets the person he wants, and then he even talks crap about her.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a little intrigued. I might be swayed to watch it.
I won't.
But we'll see. But yeah, it's just when you're in a competition like this, you need to be able to do whatever is thrown at you. You not even just able, but just willing.
That's because willing is the word. Yes,
because it's a food eating competition. It's not even that gross. It's sure. It's looks like incredibly overboiled food from parts of animals people don't normally eat in the States. Who cares? It's just meat, and it doesn't matter if you puke it up. Just get it all down and throw it all up right away.
Yeah, and I mean, there's things. Yeah, there's things you could eat around the world that they're not even going to warn you what you're eating, and you could die from it. I had a boss who ate some crazy thing in one of the Middle Eastern countries. I forget what it was, but it was literally lined with like a layer of spoiled milk, and he ate it and woke up in a hospital and had no idea where he was. Like, that's a thing that can happen. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things. And this is all tested and approved because they're not going to have somebody die on the challenge or get super sick on the challenge. And it just frustrates me. It frustrates me because you have this big macho guy like Fessy who's never been wrong a day in his life. He gets every girl, every guy wants to be him, blah, blah, blah. But tonight on national television, he came across as a loser. And he really did. And like, I just feel like, you know what? He's going to be fine. He's going to come out. People are still going to enjoy watching him on TV. He's going to become a challenge staple because he is such a competitor. But if I were to sit down and watch season 37 and he comes out and I start to, fine, I can change opinions on people. That's fine. But in tonight's episode, I just don't have patience for that kind of thing. That's just a sore loser. And that's just what it is. I feel for Casey, feel for her because of the knee. But for him to sit off in the side and be like, this isn't worth it, man, like, wham. Take your box of tissues and go somewhere else. Because I don't feel I had to waste 19 weeks of my life. I didn't need to waste another 5 minutes to watch you pout on your little stump. Come on. So anyway, and John's drinking blood now, so he's ready to go. He's ready to rage.
Just doubting that blood, ready to go. No, but what it comes down to is the best thing Fessy can do in response to this is come out as humble. If he comes on to season 37 humbled by this experience, we're in a good spot. If he comes back with the same ego he showed us this season, I don't know how long his challenge career can last. Because it's not even like he has a villainous ego and it's not entertaining to watch. He just kind of comes off as a jerk.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. But let's move on from Fessy and Casey because they were eliminated early. So CT and Amber elect to give the rest of the food to Cam and Corey. Right move, wrong move? What do you think?
It's definitely the right move. I mean, Cam and Corey, on paper and just by how you were witnessing things, you already saw that Nany was lagging behind in some of the running. You have to assume there's more running coming up. So, yeah, it definitely makes sense to give it to Cam and Corey because they are your biggest competition at that point.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it was the right move. We had talked about it last week, and I definitely misspoke by saying just give it to Fessy and Casey because they're not going to do anything anyway. It was the right move to give it to Cam and Corey, especially, you know what they had a really big advantage of, Amber and CT. They had a really big advantage of knowing that if there was any type of running, they were going to win it. And that's a big advantage because then you're always in this kind of power position. None of these challenges were particularly long. The kayaking definitely took a lot out of you and was long, but the actual challenge portion of it was just building a puzzle that didn't take very long. Collecting the pieces and building the puzzle don't take very long. The running was the longest part of the game, the physical type stuff. And CT knew, okay, kayaking, Amber sucks at it, or at least that's what we're being led to believe because they need to make some drama in an episode where for first place, there was no drama. All the drama was about second and third. But CT knows that he can carry her through that part if need be. And I think that's why it makes it a little bit easier to really give your biggest competition some sort of hindrance because they're never going to catch you. And if it wasn't for these equalizers of they all have to sleep somewhere tonight, they never would have been caught. If this was just a straight do this for 5 hours, Amber and CT would have won it. And I think that's what's very impressive about them as a pairing. And you know what? I don't know. Is Amber being on season 37 or no?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked at any confirmed list, and they're still like sending people out from what I understand. So we don't have a finalized cast for 37.
Okay. If Amber B is on it though, and I'm assuming it probably won't be pairings or anything like that, but the women are going to be terrified of Amber B because if she gets to a final, she could win it. See, she's scary because any final she could win, any of them, and that's what makes her terrifying. And I think that the women are going to be on high alert for her next season.
Yeah, and it really makes you wonder about the editing that we got in this season because for the first few weeks, you and I kept going on about how we had no idea who Amber B was. And then here she is winning the season.
So I don't feel emotion for her winning. I feel more emotion for CT. Even though I was happy for her, I definitely felt more for CT because we got to know him so well, and I didn't feel like we got to know Amber at all.
Yeah, exactly. And as the season went on, I really did start to appreciate Amber. She was kind of given this underdog story, but the problem was the underdog story was more given to Big T in this season.
Yes.
Which is weird. It was great. It was obviously a big through line for the season. But when you have a rookie who's being underestimated and is ditched by their partner at the last possible second, and then they come back and win, that's a huge thing to look at there. Like, I don't know why you don't throw that line into the entire season.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that Big T is so likable of a character. Just a big character. And I think Cam is too good of a character for the challenge. I think that's another thing that hurts. Cam is too good of TV. And I also think, and I do believe it's sincere when she was saying at the end of the episode that, you know, her and Leroy wanted to do this for people who look like her. And I believe that's all sincere. But Cam was saying that a lot throughout the season. How Anissa said that when she went home, and all of a sudden that was a storyline that was being pushed. And I was like, no, Anissa wanted it to be her. Cam was saying this throughout the season. And with the way of the world right now, and with MTV being MTV, I mean, what is following up the challenge finale tonight? A special 1 hour recap of the Derek Chauvin trial. You know, she's going to get that kind of screen time. And I don't think Amber B quite knows how to get MTV screen time yet. I don't know what she was like on Big Brother because Big Brother's a steaming pile of poop. But I just feel that Cam is too good of TV. She's too good at being a star on MTV. And so I really like Cam. I was actually saying to my fiance tonight, what's amazing is I liked every single person in this final six, and I still didn't like this season. That just says how bad I felt everything building up to this was because I really like all of the final six. I didn't feel that I got to know Amber that well, but I do feel that in future seasons, she'll learn how to lean into what the challenge and what MTV actually want from her and not what CBS wants. I think people are going to be surprised. You watch these survivors go out and play in season 37. Some of your bigger stars aren't really going to know what they're doing when they get there because it's a totally different type of game.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially with them saying, but we have like 3 winners supposedly being on this season, 3 survivor winners being on this season next time, and they're being thrown into a completely different game. But you're right. Cam was such a huge character. She needed to be shown, especially with the tie to the Leroy storyline with eating Leroy's last season. And how unfortunate is it that Leroy finishes 3rd in this?
I know. I feel bad for him. I really do.
But and it actually brought into that other part where he hadn't told anyone this was his final season until that last night. Mm-hmm. And you just have to wonder what's going through everyone's head as they run that final stretch there, thinking, I am crushing Leroy's dreams right now.
Well, and I think for Leroy, the thing was just get there before Corey and Cam, because then it's really like I got second. He knew he wasn't, they were like, Nani's not going to beat Cam in any sort of race. It's just not going to happen. And so I think that's why he pushed so hard to get there, because it really was his last thing. I mean, when you know something's going to be your last, you do your best. You really do, because you know it's all over after that. That's why every time somebody, you know, in the running world runs anything and it's their last race of a senior year or something, it's always their best race because they know there's nothing left after that. But yeah, I felt bad for Leroy. And I think the thing with Cam was if she decides to milk it and let Nani beat her, her and Leroy are probably going to split that 50K 25-25 anyway. So just don't look like a quitter and don't look like you're trying to let your boyfriend get there before you, you know, and just finish it out. Because everybody knows, Cam, that you're a stronger runner than Nani. So you got to do what you have to do. But I don't think I think because in the final 3, Leroy was guaranteed to get something because of his relationship with Cam, I don't think people feel as bad about it.
Yeah. Leroy and Cam do have a good storyline, and just them talking about like the fact that Leroy gave us that cliche of, yeah, okay, I didn't win, but I did like find Cam through the challenge and stuff, and there's no one I'd rather spend the rest of my life with and have kids with and stuff. And it you know, it's a sentimental moment, and it's great to cap off the storyline like that. But at the same time, maybe he should have been a little bit better at adding numbers together on a wall.
Absolutely. So, and so what do we think? Obviously, it was the right move at the end of the day for CT to keep Amber. But after they did do the numbers at the end, what did you think in the moment of him keeping Amber? Was there any part of you that said, "Ooh, take Cam and see what happens"?
Absolutely not. After what Amber's already proven at that point, how could you not just stick with her?
You've won every leg. There's no reason not to have her anymore.
Exactly.
You've won every leg.
She won the head-to-head competition with all the women. She's outpaced all the women completely. And then you guys have won every single checkpoint to that point. There's no way you are going with anyone else other than Amber there. Plus, at that point, if you had ditched Amber, she's just going to be so angry and just wanting to win so much more. So it's giving way too much fuel to your competition to do that.
Well, and then if you lose that, if you do lose to Amber, because who are you going to give Amber to? Corey or Leroy? Now they're the favorite. I still think that they're the favorite over CT and Cam. I don't think that this final, I mean, I guess if you give her to Corey, the two of them might never finish the math problem or whatever. But I feel like this final was not sufficient for Cam's strengths. I feel like this didn't play into them running on the ice and stuff, because running on the ice and the rocks definitely evened the playing field a lot. And so I just think that's a little bit too difficult. Didn't play to what made Cam great, but yeah, I thought the same thing. You've won every checkpoint, you've done everything you're supposed to do. There's no way you flip it out. You swap for anybody else. That just wouldn't make any sense. So that leads to this nighttime situation. I actually found this to be the best part, maybe of the entire season. And this is the type of stuff, this is the type of torture I like to watch on my TV. It reminds me of back in the day when Survivor used to wake them up at like 2 a.m. to go do their stupid final challenge. And they'd all have to go and do the war paint and stuff and get ready. I loved that there's no way anybody slept. It was 17 degrees at one point. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Cam had her little blanket that didn't even cover her whole body. I love this. I thought this was absolutely phenomenal. And thankfully, nobody got hypothermia and died.
Yeah, and the fact that you had to dunk your head into the ice water while you went for your shift to sleep, guaranteed you were not sleeping.
Because now you're freezing. Oh man, it was beautiful. A beautiful, beautiful thing. I loved every second of this.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And this is kind of the nice thing about the nights, when they do these tier things where, like, you know, CT and Amber got the nice cozy sleeping bags, and then there was the duvet for Leroy and Nani, and then those little tiny blankets for Cam and Corey. But having one person have to be up the entire time, and then just that dunk into the water, it was like, that's just the icing on top of it, right, TJ? You know that if they didn't have to dunk their heads when they were going to sleep, they might actually get sleep.
Because they'd be so exhausted, they would just pass out.
Well, he's explaining them dunking their heads. I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, it wakes them up so they can hold this thing. It's like, no, you have to do that before you go to sleep. I'm like, that's evil. Mm-hmm. Just evil.
I mean, how often do you think they were swapping out? You think it was like every hour they were probably just swapping? Like, none of them had to have been standing there that long, because nobody was. I mean, they were all in their sleeping bags or on their cots having conversations with each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine it was that long, though. Maybe like half-hour power naps while you could.
Yeah. There wasn't much going on there. And then this all leads to the get up there, pickaxe, break your ice block, and run. CT and Amber get a 5-minute head start, and I think they probably won it by 10. Like, I don't think anybody ever got closer than within 5 minutes of them the entire rest of this.
They had to go back.
Yeah, they got lost and still won.
Not only that, so they got lost the one time, and then they had to go back to look at their capsule clue.
Oh, that's right. For
the 6th checkpoint when they were solving the puzzle, because they didn't look at it. And they still were that far ahead the entire time.
Yeah. There's just no way you're going to beat them. There was no way you're going to catch them. It's like, because at this point, like, really what this final is it's essentially like one of those Tough Mudders. Mm-hmm. Where, you go and you do all these challenges, or they have the different versions of them, but you do all these challenges, but if you're a good runner, then you're going to win. I mean, unless you're really, really bad at something. Like Amber B and Corey, clearly Amber B is not good at math, Corey's not good at puzzles. But unless you have like a really big weakness like that, there's no way anybody's going to beat you. My hardest part of this would have been the finish, because I hate heights. I would have never been able to go up there. That would have made me sick to my stomach. I would have been so bad. And as soon as I would have finished, I would have said to TJ, I would have said, I need to get down off this mountain because I'm about to have a panic attack, because I cannot do heights for the life of me. And people that I know have seen how bad I am with heights. They'd have to take me down. I'd say, I'm not waiting. If they wanted to see me when they got to the finish line, they would have ran faster. Get me off this damn mountain, because I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, especially with you having to run along that entire mountain ridge for that last bit.
No way. I'd be the person who walks as far away as possible, and if there's anything for me to grab onto, I'm grabbing onto it, even though there's no need to. I mean, I can't do the mind over matter when it comes to that. I am just so bad. I would not pull a Fessy, though. I would finish it. And I actually don't hate roller coasters, because I don't mind heights as long as I'm secure. I don't like not being secure. It's maybe people don't want to talk about Louis C.K., but I don't care. It's the whole the one episode where the lady's sitting on the rooftop, and he goes, "Hey, can you get back away from there?" And she's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because you're going to jump." And she goes, no, I'm not going to jump. No part of me wants to jump. You're just scared that you're going to jump. And that's how it's terrifying. It's like Durrell says, it's that call to the void. It's a terrifying, terrifying thing. And I recommend if you have that, don't go to heights. I just stay on solid ground, or I look out the airplane window and I say, thank God I'm in this box. There's no way I can fall out of this thing. So yeah, that's a little side note about me. But back to this beautiful scenery though for this final. I don't know how other finals look, or I don't know where they normally shoot, but this was a beautiful, beautiful scene.
They usually give us this type of thing in the finals, just this beautiful. Most of the time, they take place on mountains and things like that, or like there's some point of them that involves climbing a mountain. So you're usually getting beautiful scenery the entire time. But Iceland's scenery is unmatched in the world, essentially, when it comes to this. When you're running along, when you get to sleep in a glacial cave and then run along a mountain ridge afterwards, all through a hurricane that I totally forgot was still there.
Yeah.
But you have to imagine, based on how well Amber B ran this, do you imagine that she's a regular trail runner?
Yeah, she has to be. She has to be. Well, because I think about this. Amber B is incredibly thin, but also fit. Mm-hmm. She's not going to the gym and lifting. Like Cam probably squats. Like Cam has legs. But when it comes to Amber B, the way she's staying so toned isn't from lifting. It's from moving. Because there's a difference between just being like naturally skinny, but you wouldn't have the tone that she does. And even when she flexed and she was like, does it look like I have muscles? I'm like, damn, that was way bigger than I expected it to be. Like, so yeah, kind of. I would say that that's probably her main way for staying active and staying fit is probably, she's probably a trail runner. And I don't know where she lives, but if she lives out in California or something, she's probably running Runyon Canyon all the friggin' time because that's exactly the type of thing that would put you in shape for this. So
yeah, I don't know exactly what she did to prepare for the challenge, but clearly it worked because
clearly it worked.
It just got there, and she was just doing so well at this. She did luck out getting CT as a partner, I think, because CT is arguably the best puzzle person there is. Mm-hmm. So when you combine both their abilities together, and the fact that CT can literally finish a puzzle faster than anyone else can look at a puzzle, there was no question of how far ahead they were, especially because you never saw them at the same place as someone else.
No, and they did a lot. They did try to do that a lot where it'd be like, oh, they're sneaking up. We can see them. But then every time that it was the person's point of view cam, it was empty. That whole thing was empty.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right. So we've obviously talked a lot about this season. And now people are talking about what would be on next season. But they're talking about the fact that survivors are getting cut left and right. What is going on with cutting all the survivors? The one thing that had any chance of pulling me back in, such as Leroy finishing third when only first and second finished money, and he says, I'm never doing this again. The only thing that was going to pull me back in, and now I'm reading in the chat here, no Wendell, maybe, no Jay, no Michelle. What is going on, John? Do you have any idea what's happening with this?
So it wasn't Michelle Fitzgerald that was pulled. It was Michelle Schubert who was pulled today.
See, that is a massive difference and does not matter nearly as much. Also, Michelle Schubert was a weird cast anyway because she's like married and like pretty normal living right now.
Yeah. So from what I understand is they are currently in quarantine in Croatia.
Okay.
And if something goes wrong in quarantine, they're being cut from the cast.
Got it. Got it.
I do know from what I hear, Jay being cut from the cast meant that Wes is on this next season.
Oh, okay. So they replaced what you're talking about, Wes Nail, of course, right?
Of course. Challenge Beast, Wes Nail. He'd do so well in the challenge.
Of course. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, SP fan says rumor is that that Jay broke quarantine rules. Look, I don't know. I just when I saw that, I saw Michelle, and it's like, guys, if you're trying to pitch this to me, you're not doing a very good job. But it's Michelle S. MVGX. Thank you, Adrian Celeste. Now I finally read the whole damn thing. My bad. But so okay, before we like dive in anything else, we're almost at the half-hour mark here, and honestly, we don't need to dwell on this season any longer. But ultimately, what do you think of this season in comparative? Because I have nothing to compare it to. I will say I thought it started strong. I did like this ending, even though it was boring and we knew it was going to win the entire time. But I did like kind of what the final brought, and I wish that would have been more throughout the season. But what do you think as somebody who's actually watched the challenge before?
I think this is one of the lesser seasons I've watched. I don't know if I would say it's the worst, but it's definitely not in the top half of the seasons I've watched so far. That middle section was so dry. Nothing was happening. There were far too many medevacs or leaves from the game that weren't involving challenges. So, was it the worst? No. But it was clearly not the best. And I think a lot of that just came down to the length of the season. There were too many episodes.
Yeah, 19 episodes. I mean, it's a lot of episodes. And trust me, I'm feeling it. I mean, that's 5 months. That's a long time. It's a long time. And Gavin Drewkis, I don't know how you would say that, but I'm sure he does. This is like Island of the Idol season of the challenge, but with no dance to worry about. I kind of agree. It's just one of those seasons that it's really not that bad, but there's enough of it that you don't enjoy watching, probably. Now, for me, obviously, as a new viewer, I complained all throughout this whole thing. I was annoyed, but it was mostly that it was so long and that I felt like I could predict everything that was going to happen, even though I'd never seen it before. That's not a good feeling. That's like sitting down and watching a rom-com because you know what's going to happen in the rom-com, like a lazy rom-com. You know what's going to happen, even if it's your first time watching it. That doesn't mean it's fun. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how this felt to me. I mean, I don't know. That's just what it was. There was one point, I remember saying this, but in an episode a long time ago, I said people should start to take Amber B a little bit more seriously and watch out for her. And like the entire chat said, no, I was crazy and that there was no reason to do it. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong and I'm just misreading it. But Amber just won the damn game. And I don't know.
At least we got a satisfying ending to the season. If Fessy won this season, it would actually be terrible.
Agreed. Because Fessy going out the way he did with Karma Chameleon playing made me so freaking happy.
I was so happy with that song choice.
Yeah.
Just like, you're done. It's like, perfect. Yeah. Thank you, MTV editors, for choosing the perfect song for Fessy's goodbye here.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Beautiful thing. I was very happy with that for sure. But other than that, I don't have much else to say about this episode. All Stars is on right now, season 37 coming up in the fall. Does it air? So it'll air in the fall, or is it going to air in the winter again?
I think it'll air in the fall.
In the fall. So probably, is it always going to be on Wednesday nights? Is the challenge going to be up against Survivor?
I have no idea. We'll have to see what MTV's fall lineup is.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess before we leave then, and before we put to rest the Challenge 36 and what will likely be my final challenge podcast ever, unless Michelle Fitzgerald sends me another damn cameo convincing me to do so. What do you think about Match Me If You Can, and how excited are you to watch that show this season?
I didn't see the preview for it.
You didn't see?
No, I didn't. I was experiencing some issues with my internet at the time, and I thankfully did not have to see it.
But it was at every commercial break. It was at like 4 of them. We got to watch Ashley Millionaire Mitchell find love with Eric.
Yeah, no, I just didn't get a chance because the way I was watching it, at every commercial break, I had to like restart my browser so that I could continue watching it.
Oh my god. Well, you missed out on a hell of a thing because, that looked terrible. Even my fiance sat there and said, "I love these shows. I don't think I can watch this one." It was something, and it was annoying that it just kept going. And I'm like, is this going to be a 10-minute infomercial that could have been done afterwards? They were clearly struggling. I think that was the big thing with the challenge this season. I'm obviously joking about Match Me If You Can, but I think my big thing with the challenge this season is it felt like a lot of the time they were trying to fill time. You should never have to feel like you're filling time with a TV show. And if that's the case, make it shorter. That's really all it comes down to. I feel like they were trying to fill time. And even in the finale, they were trying to fill time, which is ultimately a bummer. But
that's what it comes down to. I'm just interested to see how they adapt the next season based on this. The fact that they're not filming the season before the season finished airing gives me a little bit of hope. I mean, obviously, it all stars in the meantime, but hopefully the fact that they haven't started filming 37 means that they're going to take the criticisms that have been levied at 36 and rectify them with 37. Hopefully, we don't get any more no more skull twist. We don't need it.
Yeah,
I think this season proved that it's totally unnecessary, especially with what Cam said last week, right? That if the dailies don't count, then the eliminations don't count either when you get to the final.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I will say I was a total hater of this season. I mean, I was a hater for pretty much the entire second half of it. It just went on too long and all of that. And I have no problem saying that. I mean, I got called out. I've pretty much been called out in comments in every video. And you know what? Like, I'm not going to argue it because it's true. It's true. Like, I did not like it, and I was a hater. I've been very vocal in the past watching Survivor that we'll get people who are like, I hate this show. It's stupid. And I'm a big believer that if you don't like something, don't watch it. You only get so many hours on this planet. What are you sitting around watching stuff that you don't like? It's a waste of time. And the problem with this was I really didn't start to hate it until about episode 10. And at that point, I'm already halfway through and I'm doing a podcast on it. I kind of have to suffer through it. But we'll see what ends up happening with next season. Maybe I do something similar to what I did with The Amazing Race the first time. Was it The Amazing Race? I think it was The Amazing Race where, with Eliza and all of them, where it's like, if my people get eliminated, I stop watching. If the survivors are gone, I have no interest in watching. And then that would have cut this way earlier. It's just one of those things. I don't like watching things that I don't like. And that's why, if you look at my like Letterboxd or something, and you watch like the movies I'm watching all the time, most of the time I like the stuff I'm watching because I go out of my way to like, I know my genres, I know what I like. And the show just didn't do it for me, but I was stuck in it and I couldn't get out. So sorry to everybody who loves the challenge and suffered through this. I know there was somebody last week who was like, I was thinking about subscribing, but now I'm not going to. And I was like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I can't pretend to love this if I don't. And I mean, that's really all it comes down to. Maybe I start off season 30. It's all going to depend where I'm at life-wise, where the channel's at, how we're doing now that Survivor stuff is going to start coming back, news and all that. So we'll see. But, maybe John and Annabelle will just show up and say, guys, we don't hate this as much. And then that'll be good,
There you go.
Anyway, all right. So that's gonna do it for our challenge double agent season 36 coverage this year. Become patrons, patreon.com/survivor specialist. John and I, we've been doing a movie podcast counting down our 100 favorite movies of all time. And right after this episode, the 60 of you watching, right after this episode, John and I are going to do an Oscar preview show where we break down what we think is going to happen at the Oscars, what should win, and what will win. We're going to do it for every single category. So if you're one of those people, pretty much everybody watches the Oscars. Even if you're not a movie fan, you probably are going to watch the Oscars, especially right now. There's not much else to do this upcoming Sunday. So you're going to sit down, you're going to watch the Oscars. And John and I, we're going to help you wing your little pool, even if you're just going against your parents or your relatives or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. We're going to break down every single category from best picture all the way down to best short documentary, which we have not seen any of, but we will do our darndest to guess and figure that out. So if you're into movies, check that out. It's literally going to be going live right after this is over. And then Alexa and I, for all you Survivor fans, starting in May, are going to be doing the best episodes, breaking it down from 20 people in an episode all the way down to 4 in an episode, because we're not going to talk about the Australia finale just to talk about the Australia finale. We're going to go from 20 to 4. That's what we're going to do, talking about the best episodes, starting with each amount of people. So 20 people, 19 people, 18. That's going to be starting in May. Become a patron, patreon.com/survivor specialist. It's a lot of fun. Fortunately, it's just John and I tonight, but Annabelle did a great job with her coverage of this season as well. Brought a lot of great insight. Couldn't be here tonight because of other obligations, but she's probably going to watch the finale and be satisfied to know that it is all over. That's it. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for putting up with my bullshit. Thank you for listening to John, who definitely was more positive on this, even if he also would send me messages about how much he despised it and hated every single second, but he tried to pretend that he was okay with some of it. And I'll be seeing you guys in about 15 minutes. And everybody else, I'm not going to see you at all next week. And I am so happy about that. So I'll talk to you all later. Goodbye. Thank